Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We're starting Kids OK Please live in exactly a minute. Expecting our guests for today to come in as well, and really looking forward to it. It's a very, very interesting company, which and it's a franchise which has started here in India, and has really exploded its presence. Um, so. Looking forward to that. Hi, Karan. See, a lot of people are waving in. Yeah, right. Our guest for today is here. I'm gonna just patch them in. More and more people joining in, and I know that we got a lot of interest and messages that people are gonna come in. Hi, Pranay.
Hi, Ritesh. How are you? I'm so sorry. It took me a second to get in.
No worries at all. I think we're right on time. A lot of people are coming in. Hi, Pia. I think people there's just so much buzz around today's Kids OK Please live because it's Tickle Right, and so many people who've already had the experience of going through what you all have to offer, are logging in, and at the same time, a lot of new parents, a lot of parents who've heard about you, who've heard about Tickle Right, want to come in and ideally try and find out more as to what's going on. So welcome. As we go ahead, I think we're going to see a lot more people come in. How's this midweek treating you? How's Wednesday been already?
Oh, don't ask. Since we began online, it has been such a great challenge. In fact, we're loving the challenge here at Tickle, right? We have while we were proposing kids how to think creatively and think out of the box for the solution. And of course, we did that in Tickle Right when we created our curriculum as well. But it's been a long time since we were put in a situation where we have to completely change the way we live. And since we are doing what the kids are doing every day with us at Tickle Right, it's a great experience. I mean, we are stimulating our brain a lot here as well.
Fantastic. So, hi, Sonal, Manali. There are a lot of people who've joined in. Hi, Amit. Hi, Karan, Sachi. As we go along, it'll be probably tough to say hello to everyone, but please keep joining in and listening to this young entrepreneur who's really brought in so much to this ecosystem. So for the people who've just tuned in, we have Pranay Dattani here. He's a promoter of Tickle Right. Pranay, let me begin with you telling our audience and people at large who are going to see this later as well. What is the journey been of bringing Tickle Right to India, starting this, and where is it today? If you could just give us a glimpse of the timeline of Tickle Right, where did the thought come to you? How did you bring it here? And what's been the journey so far? If we can hear it from you.
Yeah, sure, definitely, Ritesh. This started a long time back. It's been a lot, many years for me in education. And so primarily it was Tickle Right is actually an answer we were looking for a lot of time. So we started with a multi-activity center for kids where we started teaching them skating, gymnastics, chess, art, craft, etc., etc. And this I'm talking around 14 years back. Now, when we were doing this for the kids, a lot of kids, as academics usually goes in India, around ninth and 10th grade would take a break from all these co-curricular activities. Now, the issue began when we actually trained these kids not for hobby, just for a hobby purpose. Our idea was to make sure that they get some future out of it. So we used to send them for state level, national level competitions in gymnastics, in skating, etc., etc. But when a kid would take a break in the ninth or the 10th grade, and when he would come back in the 11th grade, how much ever we would try, this kid would never make it to the qualifiers of nationals as well. Now, there may be multiple reasons. I'm not saying that every kid loses the game if they don't practice, but it definitely was very difficult for us. It didn't seem that easy. So that brought us to the question as to what is it that is not practice based. Now these kids, when they were practicing, they were great. They even won gold medal for Maharashtra at a lot of levels. But when it came to nationals, because of the 1 year break that they had in between, it became so difficult for them. So we wanted to find what creates a permanent change in a human being instead of it only being practice based. So in the quest to find that answer, we reached the subject of right brain development, which says that if development happens between the age of 0 to 6, that is when actually all the permanent change happens. So, I mean, with more research into it, and then my wife, Meera was currently my wife now, when we began, we were just co-founders. And she, being into the neuro field, she is a neurophysical rehabilitator and specializes for pediatrics. She was the catalyst who said that, okay, we could do something in these lines. And once we sat, we opened up a lot many aspects of the brain on the research table and realized that a lot of hands-on activities, we don't need any any specialized activities, just pure hands-on activities done at regular intervals could lead to so much of development in the child's brain that it could actually put us forward, and which led to the beginning of Tickle Right. So we've been across a few countries to take our own training for various aspects. We've not only been taking training for right brain development. The idea is, therefore, when we founded Tickle Right, was only one thing: is it should not be restrictive to one thing. If it is benefiting the child in any form, it should be part of Tickle Right as well. So that was the approach we took, and it took us a lot of years, but yes, finally Tickle Right stepped in. And once we started our journey, it's been a great run after that. And a lot of kids, we have kids staying in like for 4 to 5 years with us, and their parents now have their second kids, like the siblings coming in. And it's so good to look at our kids who were with us and now in the 3rd grade or the 4th grade, and they're doing so well. So it's been a nice way for us.
Fantastic. So, so Pranay, take us through the organization structure that Tickle Right has here, and do you also? So, how does it trickle down? Do you have several branches and things like that? Could you take us through that, please?
Ritesh, I kind of lost you probably for the internet connection. Can I just switch over my Wi-Fi? We're going to take like 3 seconds.
Yes. Wait. Oh, you come, sit here. You can sit here.
I cannot see, but when I sit
Right, sorry. So, yes, Ritesh, can you please repeat the question?
I also had a little bit of nudge here. My
I
I can tell you that COVID has made us realize, why the work-life balance that we were talking about now, there's such a thin line that the life has become a part of work in such a way that. So I didn't share this over the call when we were talking that, but I have twin boys, 2 3-year-olds with me, and they're all over my gadgets, so to say. So you was just walking in right now, and I was like, no. Fortunately, you had a technical glitch going on out there. But I think a lot of people are sending us questions, so I'll request the audience to note them down, and when I ask you, you can probably feed them in here, and Pranay, I'm sure, will be very happy to talk to you about it. Sorry, I was asking you, just refreshing what we were discussing. What's the organization structure like here, and where is it that one can find Tickle Right? And we would like to also understand how you teach them. But let's begin with what's the organization structure like, and who are the key people? How big is your team? What's going on out there? Yeah.
Definitely. So, Tickle Right initially began as a 3-member team, but now we are somewhere around 52 people who are involved in this organization. And beyond that, we have a few more coordinators, and this is excluding the teachers. We also have roughly around 35 teachers now. So it's been a growing organization. In fact, we just added 2 teachers last week. So it's a constant process. And more than the organization, I feel the key structure for us actually depends on decentralized understanding. A lot of parents, I see a lot of names who joined us right now. I know them personally. We have, I don't know, crossed around 3,000 parents. I'm sure I don't know everybody personally, but I've spoken to so many parents. I try and go. I mean, it's been before the lockdown. I was trying to be as hands-on and possible, hands-on as possible till the lockdown happened. I have attended a demo every single day, and the idea is we want to be close to the action. It's not that Tickle Right being 100 team now with all the teachers and everybody. It's not that we want to be away, because as long as we understand what the kids want, we can actually make a difference in the curriculum. Our curriculum is ever evolving. Like I'm not very sure about anybody else, but Tickle Right in itself has its own R&D team based outside in our Bombay office, and we have a lot of people in the R&D team, including doctors and child psychologists and people who are full time only working on making sure how to improve the curriculum of Tickle Right. So a lot of parents also, when they send their siblings around, they end up asking us that, oh, but this thing I didn't do it with my elder one. So then we have to sit and explain them that yes, that is because our curriculum is ever evolving. When we learn something new, we ensure that we add it to the curriculum. That's what been the journey. That has been the motive over here. So we have around 30% of our team size is only R&D. So which is why probably parents who've joined us and are talking about us are seeing the results, is because there's constant monitoring of the results.
Understood. So, I had the fortune of actually seeing one of your sessions and participating in it. And I think it was endearing to see how you're passionately involved in personally talking to each parent and taking them through the entire process. Would you also want to describe what's the general best time for a child to start with Tickle Right, and till what time do they stay with you, and what's that journey like? What is it that they can do? Is it on a weekly basis or otherwise?
So definitely Tickle Right in itself is a once a week program where we take around 40 to 50 minutes of a class, where we do around 25 to 30 activities, and each activity develops a completely different brain function. However, if I don't only talk about Tickle Right, right brain as a concept is very beautiful, and it actually starts minus 6 months. That is in the second trimester when the mother is pregnant. So it's not that there is any right or wrong time to join a right brain development course. It's just that unfortunately at Tickle Right we have not been able to deliver less than 18 months because of infrastructural challenges. We need a very specialized structure set for kids between 0 to 14 months. But if your kid is around 14, 15 months, is a good time to register with us. By the time they're around 16, 17 months, they can come on board. We are not taking any online classes for at least till the kid turns around 20 months. So we would advise those parents to just hold up a little bit. We've been getting a lot of requests, but we've unfortunately had to turn down because we don't think it's the right way till at least the kid turns 20 months of age.
Yeah, I think it's too early, in every possible way. But are there any plans of any backward integration of helping the parents or participating with the parenting process before they actually become a student of Tickle Right, where it could be cards or it could be certain things or a manual that you're providing to people where they can engage with you?
In fact, the lockdown, which has been a boon for almost a lot of organizations like us, we've had the opportunity to work on things that we started our test runs. In fact, Munira has been taking, I think, around 14 or 15 kids. I mean, not directly kids, is in talks with parents on a one-on-one level, and giving them instructions on a weekly basis as to what you're going to do now if the baby's 10 months of age or in 12 months of age. And, these parents are replicating those activities at home. But I would honestly say that we have these 2 months has given us a plan, and hopefully by March 2021, we should be starting from 6 months of age for parents, if offline classes begin. Offline classes. And we'll be, in fact, when we started our Myanmar center, which was our first international center in February, just a month before lockdown started, we started over there from 12 months of age. So it gave us, 12 months was always on the cards even for India, but we started with Myanmar as they were more ready as an audience. But in India, we've seen a lot of parents already starting to catch up, and since we've not even officially announced. In fact, Kids OK Please remains to be the first platform where I'm even speaking about it publicly, where we are taking in a few parents at a time, advising them what to do on a weekly basis.
Okay, okay, amazing. That's for all the audience that is just joining in. We have Pranay with us. He is the promoter of Tickle Right, and a young entrepreneur who is changing the landscape of what the children education landscape has to offer. And I've known Pranay for almost a decade now. I think I was a part of one of his earlier ventures, the Good Life Education. I remember that your passion for doing something in the education space was phenomenal back then, and I think you've turned that dream into a reality and making all the difference. You also happen to speak about your co-founder who is your better half, and it's a right partnership that you found, that both of you all have seen in Tickle Right as a growing brand. What's your take on the current challenges that parents are facing, especially the young parents or parents to children who are extremely young and who are yet dependent for basics on their parents? What are the kind of challenges, and how does Tickle Right become a part of that journey? You mentioned that they start at 18 months and going upwards. Would you want to share something around that?
Yes, definitely. So what happens is, Ritesh, we have seen this in the last 2 to 3 months, that the minute the original setup turned around, and what was the normal changed. I mean, we've all heard about the new normal being existing every time. But what is fundamental to this change is, as parents, it was not a textbook move for us. Nobody was prepared for what to do within four walls of the house as a parent. And we've always been. I think I am a part of this age group parents for the last 8 years now, and I have seen that every parent was always only preparing themselves as a parent for what the kid can do, which is not in the house. Because
Yeah.
the approach of the parent was, oh, if my child is in the house, he's most likely to going to be on the screen, correct? And so
Yeah.
everybody was prepared only for the other half, which is, okay, we can do these classes, we can do go to the park and play, we can do a play date and things like that, which was great. I really loved those aspects of the class as well. However, what really happened is, now suddenly you're packed in a room, and your ball of energy, your kid, needs to do something. Otherwise, the kid will. It just becomes derogatory for the kid. You can make the home time very productive as well, but how much? It's
Yes.
impossible. Even us me and Munira were just talking the other day that if we had a kid right now, irrespective of all the knowledge that we have, and I'm sure a lot more people have more knowledge than us, it would be impossible to still suffice the need of the brain at this age. Correct? So there are two ways we thought. So initially, for the first 50 days of the lockdown, we were also very apprehensive. We would just waited that we would not want to do it online. We'll just let things pass and we'll begin offline. But when we realized, when we started understanding that this is here to stay, we realized that we can not let the golden period for the kids go away. So, which is why the decision to move online was taken. But thankfully, with our highly skilled R&D team, we could develop concepts. And the idea is, now there's no point fighting the screen. Till now, every parent was fighting the screen. But the more you fight it, the more your child is going to get frustrated. Correct? So the idea is to befriend it, but for a limited period of time. Right?
Yeah.
So the question here is screen time good? My question always is, how much of screen time is good? So if
Yeah.
you're restricted to less than an hour a day, which is also the World Health Organization's recommendation, it is totally. And of course, sedentary screen time is something that we never wished for. So at Tickle Right, at least, we're trying to innovate in a lot of ways, and a lot of parents who got the beta version of our interactive platform. So we have now started doing interactive activities with the kids live in class.
Okay.
And so we, of course, have to use two devices. There is no option to that. The kids
Yeah.
use another device to talk to us, another device to use. But because it has become a hands-on activity again, by befriending the screen for a limited period of time, I saw a question also from a parent that how do you make a 2.6-year-old sit? So the
Yes.
idea is to make it your friend. If you end up making the screen your friend, or more importantly, the person in the screen. A lot of parents now come and tell us that, oh, thank God we started online because my kid was missing the teacher. So I'm like, yes, that's the point. If the person within the screen is your friend, it's not a pre-recorded YouTube video or something like that. The child is going to enjoy and learn.
Absolutely.
So that's the idea.
So, I mean, I agree with the fact that now I won't call it the new normal. I think there is a little more acceptability and openness as to what should be done, and what may be right for one child may be very different for the other. But the most important one is like they say there should be, something done in terms of reading and other activities. One must consider this as an activity, and there should be co-viewing of any screen which is with the child up to a certain age till the time they become independent and they can manage it themselves, and it's more prescribed. But co-viewing is the term that parents need to look for and ensure that that becomes a part of the schedule, which is what we've seen through the most of the lives that we've done previously, and with the other panelists also.
So, in fact, that's a very good term put up by you. We had co-viewing offline also. I'm very keeping it focused on Tickle Right is because that's my experience. But I really feel that as a parent, if Tickle Right, we used to allow parents. In fact, we would insist every parent to come to class every class. So there's nothing new. It's not the new normal over here for us because we still want the parents to be a part of the class, be it on screen or off screen. Doesn't matter. It is, in fact, this is the period where you would be able to do it. Once your kid goes to the school, it's very difficult to be a part of the learning process. So
Absolutely.
I think a parent should take in every chance. And with this lockdown, every parent is anyways home. So take that 1 hour off and be with the kid.
I completely agree with you on that point. And in fact, the purpose of us starting Kids OK Please, which happens to be a mobile application, which is going to be launched in October. And right now we're just interacting with our target group, and understand what needs to be done. I come from a real estate background, and for me, it was important that when my children are going out, what is the kind of real estate around us in the city? Is it child friendly? And no, it's not. And that's where Kids OK Please was thought about, where kids stands for experiences, where people can go in for experiences at social infrastructure level or leisure infrastructure level, and children and parents can go and spend time out there. All the places can be okayed, which stands for the okay part of the business. That anything which is child friendly, we'll okay it and we'll talk to you about on the mobile application. And please is companies like yourself and anyone else who's doing something wonderful or wants to engage the same target group can reach out to the right set of people in the best way possible. And that mobile application is going to become the most handy tool which is there. But that's way in the future. We realize the power of, and what you are right, that this COVID period has given all of us an opportunity to interact at a larger level, introspect what are we doing with our children? Are we genuinely spending the right kind of time? If someone looks at a 12-hour day, they'll realize that they are not spending more than 2 hours of quality time where they're sitting down with them, because there's just so much work happening at all points. So how do you give them the marvelous childhood? And I think then educators like yourself, and the options that you all are bringing to the table just add so much value, because there are thousands and thousands of kids out there, and every parent also, I like the fact that you all have demos which they can come to any of your centers for the demos which are there. They are scheduled, and I'd like to tell all the parents who are here, or who are going to recommend Tickle Right to anyone, that please go for the demo, if nothing else, to just understand what's the opportunity out there. Now, whether logistically or otherwise it may be possible, may not be possible, decide later, but understand about the concept. because I think it's a fantastic concept. And Pranay, we're hoping to be a part of it at some point of time at one of your centers. Um, Pranay, this moving on to my next question. Before we open this up for the audience also to ask you more questions, what's your vision over the next few years, and let me stretch it up to the next 5 years or maybe a decade. Where do you see Tickle Right? Do you see modules being created which can be consumed at an online level in places where an active class is not possible? Or do you also see this becoming, the growth pace that you've seen growing at that same pace? Do you also see yourself becoming a part of a large conglomerate, and maybe at some point of time going public in some way or the other? So what's the vision like? How can people be a part of it? How can people join Tickle Right in that vision? Yeah.
So, Ritesh, primarily our approach has never been, to envision where we are heading when it comes to the business. It has always been, to be very specific, it has always been towards delivery of quality education, and we never cared about the scale, and it just happened. I'll tell you what happened with us. So, the problem with Tickle Right is the challenge that we face is to find the right talent. So last year, around 16 teachers must have applied for the training. Only 2 cleared the training. So being a part of Tickle Right, we welcome everybody. Clearing the assessments to get on board is a big challenge. Now, if so, that has always been our, I would say modus operandi to open up centers. Like we opened up a center in Agra 2 years before we opened up in Delhi. I mean, nothing against Agra or Delhi. I'm just trying to tell you that if as a business decision, it would always mean that tap the metros first, but that was not the case. If a lady from Agra clears the interview, I'm opening up in Agra. So that has always been our approach before the lockdown, and it will be for our offline classes always the same approach. Now, of course, we cannot afford to anymore shut down the online classes, is because today we stand with around the last I know is 170 kids, not from the areas where we have a center. So
Okay.
and another apart from India, another 11 more countries. So this became a big challenge. So we always wanted to keep our online temporarily there, though we worked as if we were going to keep it permanently, and we made sure that every single concept is covered. But we knew there would be at least 6 to 8 months that we have to, do these classes online. But now that we have such a sizable audience, we wouldn't want to deprive any kid of the stimulation they're able to get. So we have a very, we in fact have no presence in the south of India, but we have close to 60 or 70 kids which have joined us. We started only 8 weeks back, and in the last 8 weeks coming in from Chennai and Bangalore. So this is apart from all the Tickle Right kids that we have where our centers exist. So it has always been a good, so these parents are not new to us actually. They've been calling us for the last 2-3 years, and always just reminding us that, okay, when you start in Bangalore, call us. When you start in Chennai, call us. But as I said, we've been trying to do the recruitments, but we've not been able to clear teachers. So now it has given us a chance to, give them an experience. And secondly, it has helped us because we have started. So all these parents who are with us and doing these classes with us, they are helping us find good talent in their locality, so that
Okay.
we can train them. So it is now becoming more of a parenting community effort that, okay, where we are able to deliver quality education, we are ready to train, but we should be able to find dedicated people. So
So,
that is
Pranay, while you mentioned this, so I'm taking that your vision is to keep the quality in check and to organically grow where the demand is coming from. I can tell you that there's a lot of demand, lot of parents who are not aware about what Tickle Right can do, what the activation of the other side of the brain can do at such a young age. So I think it'll be very, very interesting to not only, I think you can visit their YouTube page. You can speak to the other parents also. And Pranay, if you could share with our audience today, any one child, any alumni from your, so many batches that you've had, and what's been the change? What has the parent said? Because I think that will further validate the questions in people's mind that why they should be looking at it in some way. So, is there any experience that you want to share that you saw this is what happened so to one of the alumni and one of the stories that came to you?
There have been so many such instances that parents keep coming back to us. I have taught when I used to teach. I no more teach in Tikkutai, but when I was teaching, I used to teach in a center in Murud. I used to go only once in a week over there. And recently, I got a call from this parent in the lockdown that the kid's name is Dhruvesh. So since I know if he was the kid I taught, I can very freely take the name as well. And Dhruve's mom comes up and tells me that, you're going to tell me what to do with Dhruve is because his reading speed is the fastest in the class.
Wow.
So now that he's the fastest in the class, he ends up reading everything. Like he finishes the book, he finishes the textbooks because he's able to go further. So what do I do? I said nothing. I mean, that's what we desired, right? When you came to this class, you wanted the kid to be reading fast. That's one of the things, right? So just giving more books. It's as simple as that. I'm not talking about the solution. My idea is we don't create magic in the brain. We're not saying that the brain will, the child will just become another Steve Jobs right away. But I'm saying that we start from the most basic things. Okay, you read more. If your reading speed is faster, you read more. You read more, you have more knowledge. You have more knowledge, you have more time. Because you've consumed that much of knowledge, which other kids would have taken a little more time. You have
Sure.
more time, you have less this time to create something. So that's step one. Now, there was another kid I just recently learned from Munira. It was her kid. She's now past the age of tickle, right? And but when she was around 5.5, she wrote a book and that got published. So that was a very proud moment for us.
Wow.
And a very good publisher. I'm just not allowed to take the name, which is why I don't say it right now. But it was a proud moment for us. So we could benefit. So the idea is as long as the kids are getting hands-on knowledge. So there's a kid who comes up and tells me, he came with a fracture to the class, and it was not there the previous week. So it was Munira's class, and I was just sitting outside doing my work. And I ended up asking the parent, is this new? So she said, it happened today. So I said, there's no way you should get him to class today if he's got a fracture. So the parent tells me, you asked him why he was so adamant on coming to class. So I asked him, and he just fooled around. That's how kids are, right? So the parent just overstepped and said that, he goes up to the doctor and says, oh, I think my femur is hurting. And that was a very strange word for the doctor because the doctor would say, okay, no, my leg is hurting. So
Yeah.
something like so the doctor examined and, they got the x-ray and it was a fracture and they said, you've got to rest. And so the kid goes up to the doctor, a 4.5-year-old kid, and says, you want to give me an injection, you give it to me, but I want to go to Munu Auntie's class. So, the affection that we have, I think that's our takeaway. The idea is that our class is not a game class. We don't play games with the kids. We do a lot of learning. And if the kid has so much of affection towards the class, it eventually translates into affection towards learning. And I think I learned a love of learning much later in life. I was not really academically a very strong individual, but now I get even half an hour a day extra. I would go on Udemy or I'll go on Coursera and try and find a free course or something like that because now I enjoy learning. I love it. But it's too late. What if I had this passion when I was like 4?
Right.
I would have saved time. I think we could have created a much better world by then. So
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
So wonderful, Pranay. I think those 2 or 3 instances that you spoke of, and I'm sure that there are thousands more that are lined up, and hundreds more which have already been done. I think it's very interesting, and again for the audiences that have joined in now or will see this little later on our IGTV, where you can see it on our Kids OK Please Instagram page. It's very important to understand what so many of these educators out there are creating, which is simply adding value at such a young age for the children, right from an 18-month old child going, to being, slightly older children that we see. Pranay, moving towards the last part of it, before we can take some questions, and I know I've taken a lot of your time. It's a very, very busy Wednesday.
I'm just glad to be a part of such an open. I like the policy of Kids OK Please is because it's so open. it's so transparent. It aligns with our thought process. So I'm just very happy. Don't
Thank
worry.
you. Thank you. No, so you know, the team at Kids OK, please, idly, when we were running through, and this is a common thing that we're going to do on Kids OK, please live. Have other educators also come here, talk about why they started their journey, what are they offering, how can people get in touch with them. It's not. A lot of people asked us that are you gonna simply market them? I'm like, no, you gotta understand that there are every nook and corner and in so many social circles and different parts of the city, there are such fabulous educators and who are providing so much more that your child will grow up and you won't even realize that you missed out on it. So it's our duty to bring them to you and in the best way possible. So that's where our interaction comes in. One of the other things which we want to ask you is, what, according to you, is going to be the trend that you'll see in parenting or the education which I'll tell you where I'm coming from and why I'm asking this question. A lot of parents typically are taking a lot of peer pressure on themselves and deciding to do a lot of things for their children or pushing their children in a certain direction. And we always tell them that let kids be kids. They'll learn. You need to spend time with them. You need to give them the best facility that you can, provide them with. And the values are going to come from you. But there are educators out there who are going to add to it. What are the things that you're seeing as trend which are changing from, the last 7-8 years that you've spent out here? As parents, you've seen. Parents we know are more involved in things like that. So would you want to just throw some light on what are the trends that you've seen as a change in terms of parenting, how they're
Sure.
making these choices?
So, Ritesh, I think taking a cue from what we spoke on call also, this it was a very rightly, you just pointed it out correctly. In fact, the biggest trend change, and I believe it's about time this happens, that as a parent, I mean, I'm not talking about, schools per se, but as a parent, you should not consider any educational class or school for that matter as an essential. Like it's no way a school can be considered essential as much as the class also cannot be considered essential. If you're going to, the pressure actually practically comes in is when you think, oh, a school is like a compulsion. It's like when you wake up, you brush your teeth. It's like going to school is part of your childhood. I'm not saying you should never go to school. Getting educated is very, very important. But there are so many better ways that if you are going to be a hands-on involved parent and if you have the time, I think homeschooling as a trend is going to pick up very well. And rightly so, two very important reasons is there is not, so we as, we've always seen this gap, right? The 20th century kids, that is, so when we were they call us the millennials, right? So we were trained by the same audience, which was in school another 50 years back. So they're training us the same thing they learned around 50 years back. But the speed of growth of the world was not that quick. You look at what has happened after 2000s and to now. We're moving on to self-driving cars. So, I mean, it's unimaginable as to the amount of combinations that the car would be remembering right now just to make sure it doesn't crash on the other side, right? So what we will, and if you expect a teacher, it's very wrong as a parent to expect from a teacher to know something like that or to make the kid open to that.
Right.
Like if I'm nothing. I mean, I respect my teachers. In fact, I consider them as one of the reason why I am here is probably because of them. But I realize the gap is that a person who's never imagined that kind of technology when their childhood was going on is going to be restrictive in thought process, and that restrictions pass on. So unless and until education is ever evolving, curriculums are ever evolving, teachers are constantly trained to change their own mindset, it's not going to be a perfect schooling system or an education system that we aim at, right? So, but a parent is not limited by those limitations. Parent can go all out.
Yeah.
It's an instinct to be for your kid, right? So you are going to be there for your kid and you're going to find out every single detail. I've seen parents who come to my demos and they sometimes end up questioning me what I learned 6 years back in right brain development. I'm like, oh wow, this parent has read a lot. Wow. So, I love that about parents. So you're not limited with your potential as a parent, and so is the kid not limited for his potential. So just match that. That you cannot consider anything as essential when it comes to education. Everything is a choice. So don't worry too much about the board of the school. Don't worry about the school at all. Don't worry about the classes, especially what we've seen recently in South Bombay. Do not worry about the trend of interviews for schools and things like that. Your education is completely in the kids' education is completely in your hands now. Information is totally freely available. Before Google came, the reason we used to go to libraries or to schools is because information was there. Schools were primarily designed to transfer information. Now you don't need that, do you? I mean, I don't think we, like, in fact, your platform is in a way an information providing platform. Like your parents can come on your platform and on Kids OK Please and find out what's going on, all information regarding all classes and schools, right? So
Yeah.
I don't need to go to an institution with information. It's now on my phone. So what I really need to do is focus on my kid and his or her application skills, and that can be easily done.
Right.
So I think that's the best trend we're moving towards to, and I think this is going to open up what we really feel was the potential in our country, and we couldn't because we are a very young country. And I think by letting the educational sector free, we're going to come up with the best possible innovations.
I thanks for that, Pranay. I think I completely agree with the points that you mentioned about. Let's look at it from a real estate and a infrastructure perspective. How many schools, how many great teachers? How do we put all of that together and ensure that we cater to the large, the audience which is there, all the children, and then every parent burdened under the pressure of how is my child going to do when he or she grows up. Again, the stress is on these educators who are providing the periphery education along with what the parents are giving at a very early age to ensure that their child excels, not to compete with others, but ensure that they are ready. So I completely agree with that part. Secondly, the online part, I feel that there is space and room for it, and it is here to stay. It's just that co-viewing is going to be very, very important, that parents spend that kind of time and ensure what they're letting their children see, not consider that screen time as, okay, my child is going to sit and I now have 1 hour of my me time. That's the worst thing that someone can do. The other thing is what you rightly mentioned at Kids OK Please, and I think I'll be very interested. I'll ask the team to get in touch with your team later. That this is what we've done with the other educators and everyone that we've interviewed. That the children that have moved out from your course or are already there, and the parents were there. We're starting something which is we want to interview and not interview. We want to talk to children as children. And there's just so much that they have to offer, which the other children want to listen to. Now, it may not be heard today, but the parents will hear, and the comparison between two children has to stop. And my child also has to do this because my neighbor's child is doing something else. Your child is absolutely different from the other child. So you cannot expect that he's going to eat at the same time. Why aren't you eating fast and things like that? So we're going to do that, and we'll be very happy to, have some of the students come in and interact with our team. We'll probably create a live session with them, 10 minutes only, but just to understand their mindset. And it's so fabulous to see what some of these people have to offer. I tell you, I interacted with an 8-year-old child. This was about 3 weeks back. And he was talking to me about, and it came about, he spoke to me about tremor pens.
Wow.
So at a young age or at a very old age when people can't sign,
I know,
the
I
tremor
understand.
pen has technology which will keep your hand stiff and you can actually sign or move it. Now he's talking to me about it. That means he's well informed. And how many other children that age or otherwise would be. So he's doing something right. He's doing something which the parents can also do. Parents need to talk to them about, need to talk to other children or parents need to talk to their own children about things. Involve them in work or other things that they're doing at home. Because home is the best place to learn, to begin learning with, and the other things will follow. Also, I wanted to share one thing with you, Pranay, that you spoke about homeschooling. We had one of our guests on Coffee and Childhood. She's a single mother. She owns her own event management company. She's been homeschooling a daughter from the age of 6. Her daughter is 14 now. So she had to take permission. And we're going to do a series now in talking about the hardships of getting the homeschooling process in place so that when your child grows up and is going to go in for the higher education, what goes on and things like that. And the reason why she did that was because of what the child was going through in the similar scenario. Look at this typicality. When someone sees a child, the first thing they will say, hi, how are you? What's your name? Which school do you go to? Now, if I'm homeschooling, why do I say a school's name? Those questions. Secondly, she's a single mother, and I think we're seeing there are a lot of single parents, or there are different dynamics out there. Those every time in a class where all kids of the same age are sitting one to many, same education, 30 minutes spoken of, and I'm not against that. I'm saying I think it's fabulous. It's there. It needs to probably be refreshed, and a tutor to a child ratio needs to be looked upon. When they're talking to them and they're talking about a scenario, oh, what did you do over the weekend? What did Papa do? What did Mama do? There's no Papa. There's no Mama. What are you going to talk to them about? And that plays with the child psychology. So there's just so much that we need to be mindful of and nurture those young minds out there. And hopefully through Kids OK Please and through Tickle Right and all the other educators, we'll be able to try and do that. With that said, I'll open this forum also for audience to throw in some questions. There were a couple of questions, you already answered one of them. I think Pranay will be happy to respond to some of the questions. One of the questions which my team wanted to ask, and I'll start with the question part of it, is Pranay, typically when you do parents need to be a part of your class, and what's the average class duration that you have, and at a younger age, because that's where the timing can really be a teething issue. Yeah.
So, see, we insist and we recommend that a parent should be a part of every class. In fact, under 2, we've kept it compulsory. So, we do understand a lot of parents, both of the parents work, and it's practically not possible, especially when Tickle Right has a very big limitation of batch timings that we can offer, because we have a very small batch size of maximum 6 kids in a class. And I'm talking offline. I'm not talking online classes. Online is even further reduced to 4 to 5 kids only in a class. So we understand we cannot offer everybody a weekend batch, but we would definitely insist as to find some time. These are the golden years for your kids, and we insist that you should be a part of the class. Now, again, in class, not that we want the parent to help the kid, because we in fact don't let the parents help the kids. And it's not that we want you to come to class so that you can revise these topics at home. It's not a rote learning format that we operate on. The idea is parent-child bonding is strengthened because sometimes we involve the parents in a very different setup in the activities. Second, we want you to be aware of what the kid is learning, is because when he comes out to you and when he says certain words, and what if you don't know those words? And there are very high chances you don't, because they learn, as I mentioned about the kid who told the doctor that my femur is hurting. Now, if the parent, that's what the parent only told me, that if had I not been coming to this class, I thought my kid was dangling some random board and not the board. So the idea is, so especially when we do some foreign languages. Now, what if I didn't have exposure in more than French from my school, so when I see a kid talking in Spanish or German, now that I am a part of Tickle Right, I know, okay, yes, I'm sure he did it in my class or somewhere else. But I would be like, I don't know what's happening, right? So, and it's not good to be clueless about what the kid is learning, especially at this age. So it's just best to be around in their first 6-7 years. I just want to make it very clear, do not take this wrongly. I do not mean that a parent should leave their working jobs or something like that and just go for this, because that's not setting a right example as well. For the kid. You've got to face everything, you've got to be ready for everything. So just manage your time better. I feel the toughest job. Someone just recently asked me, recently, it was a year back, and from my team only, that what do you think is the toughest job? Because I was trying to pressure that person to get some job done, and I told them the toughest job is to be a parent. Rest everything can come after that. So it's just going to be hard. There is no way I can make it easy for any parent, but be there. Very important.
Fantastic. Namrata had asked a question: how how you do the activities which you used to do in class. Is there something that you've been able to work around that?
Definitely. So, in fact, until 2 weeks back, we had cut short the activities and we had made it only, around 70% of the activities for online. But recently, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have now had the beta version already rolled out. And next week, it's going to be active for everybody, where all the activities that were hands-on in Tickle Right, which were missed by the kids when they started doing online, it was their demand. Like the kids said, "Oh, I want to do the sticky toys, or I want to do these activities." They've all been added on another platform that is Tickle Right's own platform, and the kids will
Okay.
get access to it.
Fantastic. Also, one of the other questions which our team had was, you said that parents are involved in this. What's generally have you seen a lot of dads being involved? Because do dads take active interest in this? Do they attend your demo session? Do they also participate in some of the class that takes place? I mean, this is pre-COVID, and I'm sure what's the ratio like? What have we seen? Are dads involved in this process?
So I've seen, if I talk about the trend in the last 6 years that I've experienced, take the last 2 years as an example. Number of dads that I see in my demos have increased a lot. And I'm so glad about it. And we also internally have made a change. We of course don't keep it compulsory because everybody has timing restrictions, but we have always started telling our teachers after a point of time, insist on the dad coming one of the days. So, uh, so we tried this with one batch. Actually speaking, we wanted to do it as a Father's Day thing. So we did it 2 years back as a Father's Day thing, and for some reason, and this is good, So for all the fathers who are not totally involved in what the kid classes goes, and when they actually come and attend Tickle Right, and they're like, my kid is learning that. Oh my God, he's learning this, and they're so surprised. Then eventually it becomes their choice to come. And I've had a couple who argued with me saying that please allow both of us to come to class. As much as I'm happy about it, there's not too much space in class. So I do understand every emotion behind this, but so I really want the dads to come in, and it's been increasing. I'm very happy to say that.
Yeah, I think that is one of the other mission that we have. Being a dad myself, and my co-founder also is a dad to a 4.5-year-old. Our intent
Wow.
was that while dads do play an equal role in parenting, we rarely get the kind of credit that should be
I
there.
do get it.
But something that our children should get, if we have the privilege of doing that, why not others? So I think, Pranay, it's been wonderful talking to you. There aren't too many questions that have come through, but I'm sure that people will reach out to Tickle Right directly and are reaching out to different forums which are there. And we hope to try and create an alignment where Tickle Right smaller sessions or those introductory sections can also be done for some of our subscribers. We try and feature some of the children who are part of this, to also talk to them and things like that. That the team will get in touch with you. But as I said, fantastic 60 minutes talking to you, and thank you for your time.
It just was an hour already. I'm so glad. They should made it seem very easy for me. This is not my thing. Yeah, that's all these talks usually.
Any parting word for Kids OK, please? What do you think? What comes to your mind when you hear Kids OK, please? As a name when we told you first.
Got a message from one of your team members that this is Ritesh Vapna's team member from Kids OK, please. The first thing I said that I should have taken that name for some of my programs. It's so good. It so hits the chord. It's like wow. It's something that you see, you feel that okay, fine. It's casual enough for a parent to be comfortable. It's not really, and this is what I want. I mean, this is personally what I like is decentralization of the education industry, not to keep it a formal setup. We are in the growing age and gotta let it go. So it fits perfect.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Pranay. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I'm sure the journey of Tickle Right is going to be only fabulous, and it'll grow. And for everyone who tuned in, thank you so much for your time today. You can view the entire bit on IGTV and share it as well. You can like Tickle Right, and we have Kids OK Please website and the Instagram page and Facebook page where we are hosting a whole lot of online events and activities that you can simply go and book or take subscription with us. The idea is to bring marvelous childhoods to each and everyone who's looking for that. So thank you so much once again, Pranay. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Yes, bye.